George is one of the most familiar faces and well-known characters. Denise basically gave him that leadway. He's known for many things. And the thing I got here is the Iowa Farm Unity Coalition. That's only one that's old, and about 8 or 9 others. Go for it, George.
Yeah, I wish that was all true. Yeah, there's so many things I wish I could accomplish and have. But luckily, in the last few days, we've had meetings with Mrs. Bach in Iowa City and here in Des Moines for the International League for Peace and Freedom. What else? AIDS last night with ISU, with Occupy AIDS and the Sustainable Ag students. And so, also, I got an op-ed piece in Iowa Press Citizen this weekend with the help of Food and Water Watch. And so, for once, I actually have a speech that I've been able to give at more than one place. So I've got sort of a little practice here, but I'll try to change it a little bit for those of you who've already heard it. But we've heard a lot about how the industrial food system makes us unhealthy, makes us obese, etc. Well, I think these elections have proven that it makes us insane too. You know, well, on public radio the other day, Neil Conan had his political junkie with him, and somebody called in and says, well, why aren't the politicians and the media talking about the environment? And Neil Conan says, I think she said, why aren't the media talking about the environment? And the other guy says, I don't know, I think she said that politicians aren't talking about the environment. And since they couldn't agree, they just dropped the issue. That was it. Now, so is that any way to run? Is this really any way to run a country? No. So we shouldn't be surprised that our agricultural system is being run for the benefit of the 1%, just like everything else, and just like our media. I've been to many other foreign countries, visiting other farmers in our international coalition of farmers and peasants and fishers and farm workers called Via Campesina. Mrs. Bach's group is a member of that. She's on one of the executive committees of that. And I was in Central America, and so we're sitting around with farmers from all the Central American countries, and I asked them, well, you've been through revolutions and you've had peace agreements. I said, how are things going? You know? And they said, well, they're not shooting us right now. And I said, well, what about your government? Are they, being responsive to your needs? And they go, oh, forget it. We've got a two-party system just like you do. They said, we've got, on the one hand, we've got a party that represents the old aristocracy that owns all the land, and then we've got this other party that's more into the modern free trade stuff and technology, and they take money from the drug cartels. And they said the drug cartels don't want farmers to prosper because then farmers wouldn't raise drugs for them. So we now know what happens. Oh, and then the other thing they mentioned was, and in order to really participate, you have to have millions of dollars. So they were right. Their system is just like ours. And is this really any way to run a country? And is it no wonder that we don't have food sovereignty? Now, this World Food Prize, as Frank said, is really the World Food Corporate Prize, and it was established by Norman Borlaug, an Iowa native. He's considered to be the founder, the father of the Green Revolution. And his intention was to breed crops so that they would withstand the rigors of applying lots of herbicide or lots of fertilizer to them so they would yield great, but they wouldn't fall down. And that process still goes on. When I, as a farmer, go to pick a seed corn number, I want to know that it's going to yield well, but I also want to know that it's not going to fall down. So a lot of my neighbors that have bought the GMO crops, well, it might yield, but they don't really know because it fell down. So, yeah, even though you would have thought that it would have stood up because it's killing all the insects that are chewing on it, it still fell down because it still had weaknesses. They got blindsided by Monsanto and Pioneer. So everything these companies are trying to sell you aren't going to live up to their promises. And I'll tell you a story about that later. But through the years, this idea of increasing yields has been generalized to all kinds of technology that they have to sell, especially those that they like to patent, like herbicides and genetically modified crops. So the Green Revolution avoided ecological and social costs or ensuring that food production and food producers would remain part and vital to their society and culture. And they call this, of course, this policy market-oriented policy. The market is supposed to deal with everything. Of course, we know that corporations, they only have one purpose, and that's to maximize the profits. And if they can get away with all the other concerns that I mentioned, they will. And Frank is always fond of quoting Jesus. And Jesus said, the root of all evil is the love of money. Now, what else is there for a definition of corporations but something that just loves money, and that's all?
Amen.
And the conservatives that will be over here, and Democrats and Republicans, they're all the same. They often tout personal responsibility. The problem with the society is there's no personal responsibility. Well, how much personal responsibility is there when you take your savings and you take it to a stockbroker and you say, here's my savings, I want to retire on it, and I want the highest return possible, and if you don't get it for me, I'll take my money out and give it to another stockbroker. And that message goes all the way down the line from the CEO to the middle management to the people on the floor that, by God, you better produce the most profits for this company regardless, or else you're going to lose your job. Where's the personal responsibility in that? There isn't any. So, from the perspective of family farmers and peasants who revere food sovereignty, sustainable democratic food policy that respects ecology, culture, and diversity of economic opportunity offers a lot more than simply what the World Food Price talks about, which is quality, quantity, and availability of food. You'll notice that the corporations, and you'll notice that the World Food Prize award is made by an anonymous committee. In South America, they call corporations Society Anonymous, Society Anonymous, right?
Anonymous.
Right, yeah, because they're anonymous associations. They don't misrepresent what they really are. And so we've experienced urbanization, deterioration of rural communities, and industrialized agriculture as a result of their policy, or lack of policy, that we've had in this country to support family farmers and protect the environment. And as I've gone around the world, I'm surprised how other farmers have been in the same boat. And but what's really scary is that here in this country, right here in Iowa, here we have hog confinements destroying our communities, polluting the water and the air. And do people in Iowa understand what's wrong, or that what we're experiencing now is a product of the Green Revolution? No, they don't. Either that, if they do, they feel totally helpless. And at the same time, while we're battling those factory farms in our communities, the same politicians that ignore that problem, or the CEOs that profit from those big CAFOs, or selling the seeds so we can raise so much corn and soybeans to feed those, they're over there front and center, both Democrats and Republicans. Agribusiness trade groups and their politicians like to spout the idea that Iowa farmers feed the world. But you know that's not the case, because all we raise is corn and soybeans. People don't eat corn and soybeans generally. Less than 1% of the soybeans in this country is fed to human beings. And most of the corn is either fed to livestock or made into biofuel, like gasohol. And poor people that are hungry, can't afford any of those things. So we know that we're not increasing food production in this state using genetically modified crops to